Good morning, everyone. I'm James Heather. I had a traumatic brain injury 21 years ago. My talk covers my history, accident, and recovery, and I try and be occasionally amusing, so feel free to laugh. And if you need to take a break, please do so. First things first, am I speaking too fast for you? And can everyone hear me? And you still want to? So yes, this is I'm going to speak for the next 30 minutes. I say 30 minutes, but for you, my wonderful audience, I'm sure to feel a bit like 9:45, but we'll come to that. One quite major thing happened to me, but we'll come up to that later. Do you think you're invincible? Another thing I've learned is that I used to be invincible, but not anymore. Well, that's not true. I'm just invincible in a different way. Everyone thinks I'm drunk all the time, so people rarely can know me was me to do anything at all. But that's how I was previously, falsely invincible. I thought I had everything. I did have everything. I had a great job, wonderful supportive friends and family, vibrant social life, and a gorgeous girlfriend who was a very bright woman. I was a pilot for British Airways. From now on, I refer to British Airways as BA, but I thought I would give them the full name at the top of the show for the avoidance of doubt. When I say I was a pilot for BA, I don't mean I played Murdoch in the A-Team. That's a niche reference for a very thin strand of the audience. I will try and avoid any more of those. Can't afford to lose any more of you. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is life was good. Great, in fact. I had everything. The sky was the limit. There's only one thing left to do. Screw it all up spectacularly in one split second of tragically poor decision making. Because life clearly was too good. On the 28th of December 2002, I flew into Paris with my BA crew, and we wanted to fly out again until the following afternoon. So we planned to go out for dinner. Myself, another pilot friend, and two female cam crew. Sounds good, doesn't it? It's all there for young, professional, dashing, and let's not mince words, beautiful people getting out for a nice evening in Paris at Christmas time. Sophisticated and sexy, but you're thinking, sounds like the premise for a romantic comedy. Well, don't get your hopes up. The hotel had the big staircase, circular staircase running around the walls, and we'd had a couple of glasses of wine, one of our rooms prior to going out, and we were on good form. I would have said in high spirits, but that turned out to be deeply inappropriate. Anyway, I thought I'd impress the girls by leaping athletically over the banister. Think I was just half a floor up. Spoiler alert, I wasn't. I was 2 floors up. I fell 18 feet and crashed onto the cold, hard marble floor of the hotel reception. I broke several ribs on my elbow and suffered catastrophic damage on my brain when my head hit the floor and my skull fractured. I know what you're thinking. That was not very amusing. And it's strange, you're right. Even now, 21 years later, I do find it quite hard to find the fun here. The best thing I can say about my immediate situation is that I was unconscious. And you can see now why the phrase high spirits would have been a bit wide of the mark, the one being right on the money. The sky was the limit, now the ground was the limit. Miraculously, the marble floor of a Paris hotel, and it was a hard limit. I was very lucky. I bet you weren't expecting those to be my next words, but I was. The hotel receptionist turned out also to be a qualified nurse, and she took immediate and capable charge of the situation. Thanks to her, I was hired to the leading hospital in Paris, one where they took Princess Diana after her accident. They had better luck with me. The doctors carried out a risky operation to remove part of my skull to allow my swollen brain to expand. It was touch and go whether I would survive the op, but without it, I would have died. Of course, the surgeons were left with the bit of my skull to put somewhere for safekeeping. No, obviously they had a plan. They think ahead, these French doctors. They stored it in the abdomen to keep it alive, which worked, and led to a funny pub conversation arising from the strangest of the tabloid headlines that would be written about me in the coming months and years. Dog's skull in my stomach. I mean, I suppose the headline on its own is slightly misleading. She just either a serious surgical mistake or that I'm some kind of volunteer, surrogate skull carrier. I was in a coma for 6 weeks. I got much to say about that then. And then I was in intensive care for further 2 months. I tried to escape my bed when I was in the coma. I had to be tied to the bed to keep me safe. I haven't quite done the precise calculation, but I wouldn't be surprised to find that I spend more time unconscious in France than conscious, and not in the good way. My mum and dad were with me the whole time, renting Paris apartment and visiting every day. Fortunately, they're both fluent French speakers, which meant they could put notices around my bed with French to English translations, so the nurses could speak familiar phrases to me like clench your fist, open your eyes. Thankfully, they were also very responsible people. They resisted their temptation to take the mick with that. And my parents could communicate with the French doctors about my progress. And here's the good, if obvious news. There was some. Every day there would be a small sign of improvement, one less stupid tash, a leg movement, a smile, a squeeze of the hand. Communication was the most frustrating thing in Paris. I couldn't speak since I was breathing through a tube inserted into my throat. I had a tracheostomy, and my muscle coordination wasn't anywhere good enough for me to write anything down. To express my thoughts, I had to point at letters of the alphabet held up by my parents. Once my condition had improved, the doctors remembered to put the bit of my skull back in my head. I just picture one of the surgeons brushing his teeth in the morning. Sacre bleu, le tête du pilote, j'avais oublié. Just kidding. Again, they knew exactly what they were doing and when to do it. And as you can see, it's open now. And I was flying back to London. It was really good till the captain announced that they had a special passenger on board on a stretcher at the rear of the aircraft. The, there was a shortage of beds in London for somebody in my condition. In fact, there was one, well, only one in the trauma unit at the Charing Cross Hospital. If someone else had been severely injured in this part of London on the day of my flight home from Paris, the bed would have been taken and it would have been, let's just say, stuck. This shortage of resources to meet the needs of brain injury patients was a big recurring issue during my recovery and rehabilitation. By comparison, the hospital in Paris had over 40 beds in the brain injury ICU, more than double that in the rehab unit. Rather than go all private eye, I'll just leave that with you. I spent 3 months in the Charing Cross Hospital, and as my brain and body slowly recovered, found out to relearn virtually everything of conventional physical movements, eating, speaking, clapping, spreading butter, doing a button, shaving, all the tiny things that make you out to be a functioning adult, bowel control. So to put that out there, but this is a brain and spine talk. Not kissing though. I've been told I'm still good at that. Although the physio nurses were excellent, the time was of course limited, so sadly I only had sessions 2 or 3 times a week. Much more was needed. So again, I want to say thank you to my parents who relocated to London and spent time with me every day over 9 months, working with me to speed up my recovery. For most brain injury people, progress is initially agonizingly slow. They speed up rapidly as the mind and body recover from the trauma, finally plateauing in the long term. To achieve maximum progress before they're flattening out, a consistently high level of physio and rehab support is crucial during the early middle stages. What I eventually progressed to wheelchair, which I naturally picked up with the consummate ease of a born pilot. I was in the wheelchair for 9 months. I got transferred to the rehab unit at Northoak Park Hospital near Harrow, where I spent the next 6 months. The physio program is now much more intensive, but still limited. My parents have moved down from Chester and was staying in my Fulham flat and not paying the rent, the free-loading parents. My mum and dad worked daily with me to improve my muscle strength and coordination. Things like trying to throw and catch a ball with my teeth. The catching was good. The throwing was a bit trickier. I'm of course kidding. But truly this was exhausting, but so vital to my future life. She didn't reveal it until much later, but the doctor told Mum I never walk or talk again, or hop or break dance, or win the Tour de France, but she grudgingly agreed this would probably been more of a tall order. Anyway, the grim progress just made her even more determined that I'd walk out of that damn hospital unaided. One interesting story, when I was landing to fly in the Phoenix, USA, I was doing my first solo navigation, and my VOR navigation instrument was broken, so I should have cancelled the flight. But I didn't. I was lost, and then two F-16 jets came circling around me and said I was in a live fire exercise area, so I had to leave immediately to go to Gila Ben. Now, there was a civilian one and a military one were close together, and guess I accidentally landed at the military one. Once I'd landed, they told me to get out the aircraft and lie down on the runway. About 5 jeeps and trucks came racing up the runway, and they handcuffed me and took me to see the commander. They assumed I was flying and transporting drugs. I put on my poshest British accent and pretended I was 17th in line to the throne. He believed me, gave me a very light telling off, and sent me on my way. There were several other brain injured men on my ward. One fellow was a very sad case, knocked down by hit and run driver, which was bitterly ironic had he been the stuntman who worked with the latest Bond film. But while he was in hospital with me, he got nominated for an Oscar and invited out to the ceremony in Hollywood. So the weirdest and wonderful things can still happen, even in rehab. After a couple of months, I was able to move around, albeit shakily. My balance was still at a pretty low ebb, as was I. But then came the day I took a few unaided steps down the corridor, the applause of the staff, and I looked like a staggering drunk on Soho on Friday night. But by the time I left Northern Park, I could also speak again, but nobody could understand what the bloody hell I was going on about. My speech was virtually unintelligible, even to my parents. More work to be done there, but there was a hell of a lot more work to be done back then. And doing brain and spine talking now, for Christ's sake. However, when I did leave Northern Park, I damn well did walk out of the unaided. I moved into transitional living unit in Pali. It was great and crucial because I had to learn to live on my own again for 6 months, the first 3 of which I had to text my girlfriend after every meal to let her know I hadn't choked to death. Not a joke, and not funny either, but all part of the process. The transitional living unit was also close to my flat in Fulham, and I went home once a week for that period before returning home for good. After my rather regrettable accident, because my head hit the marble in Paris. With about my flat and where it is, I'm blessed that I live in a lovely place and an even lovelier community. Bunch of near and not so near neighbors who are always there to help. My flat is a converted antique shop in the middle of a row of actual antique shop. It's got a big shop front window, and I've installed floor-to-ceiling Venetian blinds. But sometimes I forget to close them, and on a Saturday or Sunday morning, get people peering in while I'm sitting on the couch in my dressing gown, wondering what the hell I sell. The local council funded and provided my continued physio support, and Through that, I developed my own program of physical activities, which included swimming in the local pool to improve my strength and coordination. I did daily exercises to improve my coordination. Ridiculously simple things like clicking my fingers or clapping my hands. I won't lie, it was unspeakably difficult and really bloody boring, but again, had to be done because of the damage to my right arm. I had to learn to write with my left hand. I'm now ambidextrous though, which isn't a bad thing. I take the greatest pleasure in the most commonplace things these days, just stuff that most other people take for granted. Walking a neighbor's dog in the park, balancing on a narrow ledge. I might not do that one again. Carrying a coffee in my right hand, but still I couldn't have done that about 5 years ago. And it's still every now and again I end up with the hot wet crotch, and again, not in a good way. Before my accident, I was an adrenaline junkie, and I still am. In the past few years, I've crewed a tall ship's race, learned to ski and scuba dive, and even piloted a plane. My life is full. I've had a couple of great charity volunteering jobs, been in action TV and film, about 360 hours in 10 years. And I'm now well on my way to actually being a disabled actor. Well, so, I've got an agent. We'll see how that works out. And a film based on my tale is in the works. So if there are any finances in the audience tonight, my flatmate, who pretends to know about this kind of thing, has read the script and said the major cry and laugh, and that is basically dynamite. A few years ago, audition for Channel 4's Indatables, and they did a bit of professional filming, but eventually knocked me back, and the feedback was, "Sorry, James, you're just too damn dateable." I have no memory of the minutes leading up to the marvel, or many of the months that came after. My brain has quite rightly blocked it all out. A lot of what I told you today is bizarrely second-hand information. What I was told happened to me after the fact. What happened to me, what I did, what a tragic, life-changing event. That's not the controversial bit. The controversial bit is, I'm genuinely quite glad that happened. There we go. Because it happened, I found out what others never will. There are different ways to live a life. It made me more positive. It limited, yet delimited me. When other people are stressing out about things, I remain calm, content, and positive. I'm generally optimistic, and I'm sure I always will be. My baseline is I'm alive, and life living is good. I'm still making friends, enjoy socializing, because I already sound like drunk, not great in the pub on a busy Friday night. But A, I prefer the quieter life these days in general, and B, I'm 48. Nobody likes a pack of noisy pub at 48. I like a nice quiet pub. I can have a good one-to-one conversation with a friend. All on you. My outlook is simple. Be positive. Don't stress. Live life or the one you've been given in exchange and live it to the full. Because, spoiler alert, it could be taken away from you tomorrow. Or maybe Wednesday. It usually happens on the Wednesday. Avoid leaving the house on Wednesdays. I'm grateful to beyond words to my family and friends, to the doctors and powers who saved my life, and for the help and support I've received at all the various facilities who enabled my recovery. To the point where I can stand and talk to you today. My education at the King's School in Chester was helped me first to become a pilot and then to become something else through the determination, positivity, and resilience they helped me to build. There are two parting messages to take away. One, life is precious. Cherish it. Don't squander it. And whatever you do, don't ever throw yourself out the banister of a Paris hotel. Madrid is fine. Two, it's an old cliche, even more than the first one. Don't judge a book by its cover. So many times in the early days, people cross the street to avoid that really staggeringly drunk guy. And I was just trying to get home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And ending my speech, people might make assumptions about my mental ability, my intelligence. Just take a moment to think about that and realize what difficulties people like us must deal with every day of life. And please don't finish my sentences for me. Just wait a little bit longer. Not to end on the bit of a downer, but I'll leave you with this sobering statistic. Head injury remains the most common cause of death and disability in the UK for people under 40. 160,000 brain injuries occur each year, and there are presently 1.3 million people in this country with the chronic disability resulting from those injuries. Thank you for being here and for your kindness, patience, and understanding. In short, thank you for hearing and listening. If anybody does want to talk to me afterwards, I'll be pleasantly surprised. Have a good morning.